Hi everyone and welcome to the Hibiscus Tea Cafe. The Centers for Disease Control says that healthy aging is the process of maintaining good physical, mental and social health and well-being as we grow older. So today I want to talk about thriving as we age at any age. I'm going to talk to my good friend Ayana Harrison, so grab your favorite cup of tea and join us for this conversation. All right, welcome to the Hibiscus Tea Cafe. And today we're going to have an amazing conversation. I believe it's going to be amazing. And I want to introduce you, of course, to the amazing Ayana Presley, a health coach. She's a certified health coach. She is a community activist, a community advocate. She's also an author and so much more. And Ayana, why don't you do the honors of introducing yourself, because I am nowhere touching everything that you've done.
Okay, well, my name is Jennifer Ayana Harrison. I'm known by most of my clients and colleagues as Ayana. I've been in the business of transforming lives, as I'd like to think, for the past 45 plus years.
Wow.
I'm in the health and wellness business in terms of helping people to raise their consciousness around health and what that really means in terms of living a more productive and healthier lifestyle. I serve on a couple committees with some major institutes here in Baltimore, Maryland. And my ultimate goal is to continue to advocate real health care as self-care, because I think people need to focus more on their role in terms of their overall health and well-being, as not at the exclusion of doctors and medical institutions,
Right.
but take more responsibility for their overall health and well-being.
And I agree with all of that. I definitely agree with all of that. And it's unfortunate that to date in 2026, we still have to witness so many people not necessarily understanding healthcare, well-care, self-care. But what I really want to talk about today is healthy aging. Because as many of you may know or may not know, that the main audience that I have for my programs here at Hibiscus and Whole Food are people over 40, most of them actually over 50, and a lot of them really not expecting how they were going to age so sick. And it just goes to show us that we are living longer, but we are living sicker, and that is a problem. So the goal of this podcast is to create just a powerful conversation about healthy aging. What does healthy aging really look like? And in my community, I see so often in this 55 plus community that people retire. And the minute they retire, it just seems to trickle down. There's one health issue, then there's another one. Then when they start taking medication, it just piles up. And eventually they don't get a chance to enjoy their lives. And it seems that that's becoming more the norm than the exception. And so with us not only living longer, but working longer, we don't really get to enjoy our retirement, because now we've worked so hard. And we just had that in our community, a gentleman who worked so hard and all his life and gave his life to the government, and then passed away as soon as he got here in the community. Then other people who are living here, coming here to retire, going to the doctor with a clean bill of health, coming back and having massive heart attacks. That's what I see in the community of retired people, I should say. What is your thought on that?
Well, Ludmilla, I think it's a deeper conversation. I think we have to also look at things from a historical perspective. I know my grandfather worked in the steel industry until he got sick. After he retired, he got sick. And so I think Black folk have had this idea that we had to be strong, we have to work hard. And as a result, we haven't paid attention to our health and our well-being.
Yes.
So I think that this is something that has grown over many, many years. And as I said, in my particular situation, I can remember not only my grandfather, but my uncles who also worked in that industry.
Yeah.
And didn't get a chance to really fully enjoy their retirement.
Right.
As a result of working, in an environment that was toxic, that led to the illnesses that they found themselves faced with.
Yeah.
I also think that we need to also debunk the idea with Black women that Black women have to be strong.
Yes.
And that means that you don't take care, you don't take care of yourself, or if you do it at the expense of your family members, your children, your grandchildren. And I hear, as a matter of fact, to get off, just to get off
No, let's
little
talk.
bit, I had a friend call me, a dear friend, and she knows better, called me and said, Happy Father's Day. And I said, I think you're not getting me. I cannot be a father. African American women are now saying, I'm the mother, I'm the father, I'm this. And that takes on a whole psychological kind of makeup and demeanor. And what it does, it separates us from not only the male, but that whole concept of family and unity and togetherness. So I think the deeper conversation here is deconstructing this idea that not only Black women, but Black men, they got to take it as it comes.
Yeah.
They got to do whatever they need to do. They got a fight going down. This whole thing, a fight flight thing, is what really, I think, is really helping us become more sicker mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, because all of this is tied to dealing with the whole person, not just one aspect. And this is where I focus on the whole concept of what it means to be well, body, mind, spirit, emotional well-being. All of this is connected. So I think the deeper conversation must start with that. Who do we believe ourselves to be versus who we're not?
Yes. And then I'm thinking at what we so often hear in our communities. Oh, we are resilient people, which is true. We've been doing this since we got off the boat, since we got through the Middle Passage. But that doesn't mean that today we need to continue those practices, right? And we wear it as a badge of honor. Oh, I did this, and that. I took care of all these things. And then in the end, I see so many people crashing, not to mention the fact that we often don't have a chance to even think about how we're going to retire until we retire. So then you're so exhausted. You're so tired of having worked so hard and maybe barely having practiced any kind of self-care, that what I see in my community oftentimes is that, listen, I don't mind eating the right food, but I don't cook. Or I can't do this because I already worked so hard. I'm retired now. You mentioned certain things, and not all in the health and wellness realm, but just in general, this mindset, I'm retired now. I can take it easy. And the one place where we cannot take it easy, we can take it easy in the sense that you no longer have to rush and give all your stuff to somebody who wrote you a paycheck or who helped you pay for your business because they were your customers and your clients and provided services and you offered them services. But now you're not retired from taking care of yourself. And I tell people that all the time. Retirement is not a time when we relax on self-care. It's not a time when we relax on feeding ourselves, nurturing ourselves. We are nurturers. And then we're talking about Black women. We are such nurturers. Women in general, that's in our nature. We nurture everybody. And then when it comes to the aging process, we don't even pay attention to how we age.
Well, I think what's happening now, I'm seeing somewhat of a shift, Ludmilla, and I get what you're saying. I'm seeing somewhat of a shift, and I can't measure it only based on my clients and the people that I see and being out in the community and women sharing information. Mm-hmm. Women are changing the mindset around that they need to take better care of themselves. But in too many instances, I think they're viewing it from an artificial perspective.
Yes.
What does self-care mean? Does it mean making your hair, your nails, and all these other things a priority? Or does it mean changing your eating habits?
Yes.
Does it mean going to bed at night and getting a restful sleep? Does it mean exercising? Does it mean developing a hobby just to clear off some of the stress? How do you compare those things, that superficial piece, to real self-care? Mm-hmm. And I hear women say, I love myself. And at the same time, I'm seeing something else happen. And I think you can relate to that. What does loving yourself mean? What does that look like? But more importantly, what does it feel like?
Right.
In that healthy state of mind? What does that feel like?
That is, I mean, that is just, you hit it on the nail. What does that feel like? And especially when you see couples aging and one spouse ends up having to take care of the other because they're so chronically ill. I see people here who are just completely exhausted, but they have to keep going. They have to keep going because the spouse, is not doing well to the point that they can no longer take care of themselves. So even for those, I will say, who do want to practice more self-care, there's no space for it. And so what we have to look at, where did we miss something? And what I feel is where we miss things is that at a younger age, while we are building our career, even as early as elementary school, when we start going to school and, going to college, building a great career, going to graduate school, medical school, and all the other good stuff for whatever career we choose, engineering, law, you name it, an artist, becoming an artist or, being a dancer like my daughter. We have to keep in mind that the things we do to our body early on are going to have implications later on. And those implications are not predictable.
Right.
Right? So you may think, just a little bit of high blood pressure and that's it. Or, I just have a little bit of sugar, as you hear some people say. No, it goes beyond that. And then because our body is so resilient to a certain extent, we also interpret that as, we're strong people, we can take this. And then when it comes to the men, of course, we're not supposed to complain, but even the women, we don't complain, we're resilient, and we end up with these unfortunate aging ways. But I think that there's a concept of healthy aging that we need to talk about more, because there is a healthy way. There is a healthy way of taking care of your family.
Yes.
And taking care of yourself.
Yes. I was just going through I got an AARP report today, and it's talking about the healthy aging, and I'm looking at it from, a different perspective, us versus other people, and that includes whites, Asians, and other folk, and how they deal with healthy aging versus how we deal with healthy aging. And there's a great disparity.
Oh, yes.
That's fine. The Asians, they do Tai Chi, they do their diet, they do stress relief. White women do yoga, Pilates, and other things to reduce their stress release. And it's a matter of changing a mindset, because they understand the importance of finding time and taking time to do what you need to do for yourself so that you can do for others. Exactly. Oftentimes I hear too many African American women say, Ayana, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta. And I said, at some point, what you gotta do is you gotta sit down. And you gotta think about what it means to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And make that a priority and not an option. Even caretakers, caretakers now are dying faster than the people that they care for.
Yes, I see that here.
People have to become more consciously aware of where they are spiritually and their well-being. Yes. How does their faith match up?
Yeah.
With what they say and what they're doing. And you can give better love and attention to others when you take care of yourself. So it's a matter of getting people to change their mindset. About who they believe they are versus who they're not. You're not meant here to carry the weight of everybody. We love our children. We love our families. But you can't love somebody more than you love yourself, because if you're giving to yourself, they're going to reap the benefit of all of it.
The other thing also that I see here, Ayana, is that so one spouse is taking care of the other. And that spouse is so exhausted, but they feel like they're obligated, right? I mean, it's their spouse, they've been married decades often, and they're taking care of their spouse, but they're upset. They're depressed. And inside, they feel like they can't express that, so they act it out. And I've coached couples where I had to tell one, instead of acting like the caretaker, see the person as your spouse first, and then try to do some things together. So that, for instance, when we're going to the doctor, we're not just taking trips to the doctor every day and then coming home and all we think about is these health issues, the potential outcomes of labs or, other kinds of assessments. Let's go out on a date. So I had it with one couple, we said, I tell you what, before you go to the doctor, you plan on going on a date so that the doctor is just part of the trip. So when you come from the doctor, go out for dinner, go somewhere, walk through the mall, do something, through the park, so that when you come home, it doesn't feel so tedious that that's all you did. And then you just sit down and you're both depressed and there's barely any communication and it's just the same routine. And then I had another couple where they were supposed to follow this regimen. And 2 days later, I'm calling them because in my program, it's very intense and I follow up. Did you drink these smoothies? No. Why did you not drink the smoothies? Well, we just got busy in the evening and then went to bed. But did you have dinner? Yes, you did have dinner. So instead of the smoothie, you ate something else, something that you didn't have to fix. And then the next day you went to the doctor. But in that process, there were 3 meals, sort of, right? If not more, that you decided not to use what you were supposed to use because that person is exhausted. So, and when I talked to them more, the more I kept digging, the more I recognized that the spouse was just exhausted. She was tired. So just thinking about the regimen, even though they enrolled, that there's these things that come out, and we cover that in our program. We talk about, what's really going on in your mind, right? Because it's easy to enroll in something, but we're not trying to enroll so you can go back to your ways that initially got you there, right? But because they're so sick and tired of doing the same thing over and over again, and they don't know how to say, I need some time for myself, maybe call help, because we're not supposed to complain, then they don't do it. But it's self-sabotage that happens after.
Yes. Oftentimes, too, Ludmilla, I think it boils down to, in what I've seen, is unresolved issues prior to illness or the sickness.
Yes.
Anger, resentment, shame, blame. What was dysfunctioning or out of balance before the partner got sick?
Yeah.
Until we learn how to deal with the root cause of all of these things, which means you got to go back and dig up this stuff. And sometimes people don't want to deal with it, but it's that root cause.
Yes.
Until we deal with that that deeper cause of anger, because those are also factors that impact a person's health.
Yes.
The CDC said years ago, 85% of all illnesses had an emotional component.
Yes.
That's why they say, depression and all of these things can kill you faster than anything else, in some instances.
Right.
So getting to that deeper conversation, and I focus on that a lot because I've found oftentimes it's difficult for people to talk about what's the real deal.
Yes.
So to speak. And so you have to find a way to brace it and come around it. And eventually they'll come out with it. Yes. And it's usually something from the past.
Oh,
yeah. Something to do with the present moment in time.
Yeah.
Something that happened maybe 10 years ago that she said, and that unforgiveness, that underlying unforgiveness and anger, resentment has laid there. And I'm not sure you're familiar with Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yes.
Well, you already know how she talks about certain illnesses have an emotional component. I strongly believe that, not in 100%, because some things may be genetic in nature.
Well, and then the mental health part also does something to your cortisol levels.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And then what I also find is that, so there are things in the past, like you said, that have to do with these unresolved issues. But another issue that I find with women who have been sick, even before they retired or during the retirement, such as having breast cancer and having double mastectomies or partial mastectomy, image. I met a lady she did not want to look at herself, but she's a caretaker, but she's not dealing with her own issue. So when she told me that, I said, oh, we have to take a step back.
Yeah.
right? Because are you angry that you can't look good, but now you got to take care of him so that he can look good?
It's all connected. See, people don't understand every thought, every feeling, every emotion. All of this is tied to your trillions of cells in your body. You know, they're responding, they're reacting. And then on top of that, if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating, if you're not doing all these other things, it's compounded. It doesn't make, you don't need a PhD to understand that. That's just, some of that is just common sense. So I think it's important for people to look at their issues from inside out, to have an inner understanding of where you stand with yourself first, because that's really what self-care is about.
Yes.
Self-care equals, in my opinion, a holistic care approach.
Yes. And I think that when it comes to aging, though, that's the part that I feel is often missing. So when you're aging, in the process of, going towards retirement, so towards the, age of 40, 50, a lot of people start saying, okay, when I get to that retirement age, I need to have insurance. I need to have life insurance. I need to have long-term care insurance. They think about all the things that need to cover them in the event that something happens, right? So those are the main concerns. But rarely do you hear somebody say, well, I need to make sure that I have a self-care strategy. Because when I stop working, things are going to change. My activities are going to change. My state of mind is going to change because I'm not in the hustle and bustle of trying to accomplish things for some business or for some task that I have to do for somebody else. Now I have to figure out, what to do with my life. And for those who are married, what we're going to do together. I talked to a lady and I asked, what is the spouse going to do? Because she's not working, but he's still working. And she said, I don't know. And I said, I think it'd be great and helpful to have that conversation, of what does retirement look like? Right? What does retirement look like when we're both not working? Because some people don't, they're happy that one spouse is working because that way they don't have to deal with each other. Because as they age, some of the marriage issues haven't been resolved. So they don't necessarily think about it as, okay, something that we have to solve together. It's solved because you're not home.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the medication too that people are on. I think that's another issue. The healthcare statistics for African Americans in the United States is that we are on 4 and 5 different medications.
Oh, easily.
While other folk are on one blood pressure medicine and doctors wean them off, and our men are taking, and some women, more men are taking more than one blood pressure medicine. Yes. In addition to other medications. Yes. As other women are taking diabetes medicine, high blood pressure medicine, hormonal stuff, the whole kit and caboodle, and how these things impact on you mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, because they all have, as yes, better than me, they all interact and they all have side effects that, even creates more of a problem. So here
And if we're talking about, for instance, heart disease, the number one killer in the United States, heart disease medications cause mental illness. People don't realize that they can cause depression. They affect your mental health. So, and they, for different people, it does it in different ways, but there's research out there that's very clearly stating that that's what happens. So when you see all these people on these heavy medications for cardiovascular issues, then the idea is that, okay, I'm aging and this is part of aging, because, a lot of us have resolved that, okay, I'm getting older. It's just part of age. You hear that a lot in the community.
Yes.
Right. So we accept that. We don't recognize that if we take a little bit more control of our lifestyle, then some of these are not necessary. Yeah. And we also do not see the doctor as our partner. And, he's working for me. So I'm the biggest advocate for me. He starts prescribing and then maybe saying, hey, wait a minute, instead of prescribing all this, I know a lot of people do, but not enough people do it. And a lot of people are scared because they're like, okay, well, maybe I don't want those pills, but then I'm going to have to do something myself. And whatever it is that I'm going to have to do may be a little bit more than what I want to do. So let me just go the easy route. I'll just take that pill.
Well, I can tell you, I've seen people with amputations.
Oh, yes.
I had a woman, I was doing a workshop at the senior building. She had one leg amputated. she came up to me after the workshop and said, "Oh, I think that was a wonderful presentation. I'm having surgery on Tuesday. I have a clogged artery or something in my neck, but I love my Pepsis."
Yeah.
So,
Addicting. Food is addicting. It's becoming addicting
but
now. So
see,
then
I think it's not just the food. It's an identity crisis. How are you identifying with your spiritual nature? Your understanding that you are more than this, your thoughts and your thinking.
Right.
You know, how are you relating to this whole concept of your spirit, your soul, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? I think that's where the deeper conversation has to be, because until people get it, because I think people do get it. I've had people say to me, you know, my doctor gave me this medicine. I'm still constipated. And I said, what happened? I went back and he gave me another pill, and you're coming to me and you're still constipated. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So get a person to begin to look at, why would you do that and come to me? I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
But I can tell you, you can take Senna, and I can tell you some other stuff that you take will definitely flush you out.
Yes.
But why would you continue to allow your doctor? And you hear this a lot. Well, my doctor said, my doctor said. And I said, well, what is your body telling you?
Yes.
When your doctor gives you a medication, already you're feeling there are like 3 different types of side effects. The first side effects they tell you may cause heart attack, blindness.
Right.
The one you're kind of getting. And the third one is like 911. And you're already experiencing it. So,
well, but listen though, this is a thing. I'm sorry, I got to get this word in. This.
Go ahead.
They would do that, but they rather do that and take this thing that with the first side effect might be the one that kills you, instead of saying, I'm going to take control and I'm going to do something a little different. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but something a little different so that I can help control this, because I am the captain of this ship.
See, you just said it. There you go right there. I am.
Yes.
Where do they think of themselves in terms of the I am? And that's where self-inquiry has to come in.
Yes.
You have to be identified. What is this I am? And who is this I, me, that's fearful in all of this versus that I am that you really are. So that's where I think the deeper conversation in terms of raising individuals' consciousness around who they are versus who they're not. You're not here to be a puppet or an experiment for a doctor. There's a young lady that I coached over 14 years ago. They had a rare case of cancer, colon rectal cancer, and she's surviving now as a cancer survivor for 14 years. And she took on the task of coaching other people with cancers. And she just finished with a young lady who transitioned, and she tried so many different clinical trials. She got her on the what it was, the moonshot or some new program they had for cancer people, and she got her on that program. She tried that clinical trial, another clinical trial, like 4 or 5 different clinical trials, and she wound up leaving. And so now the CDC and all these folk really trying to get us to do more clinical trials, because they say that's our problem. Well, we have, high rate and instances of chronic illnesses because we don't participate in clinical trials, right? So now we have our people taking a flu shot, shingle shot, like 3 shots all at the same time. Because again, not taking responsibility to really kind of do your own. You can Google anything, as you know, Ludmilla. Anything.
Everybody has a phone.
Yes. And YouTube everything. You've got doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs on YouTube. Certified, bona fide, evidence-based, as they say. Everything's got to be evidence-based. So you have access to all of this information. So what is keeping you stuck in this mindset that you have to rely on everything outside of yourself when you've been given the divine nature, the divine understanding that you are the captain of your ship.
Is it that people are getting so tired of life that they're just saying, I'm retired. I'm just going to take what I can get, but I don't want to do more. I don't want to do much more because we're so exhausted.
Well, what can we do? Because the bottom line is there are some folk that are getting it. I see the young people, I would say early 40s and up, even late 30s, changing the lifestyle.
Yes, they are.
They're doing all those things we're talking about now: exercising, changing diet, vegans, and they're doing the whole approach, looking at where they are with their emotions. So, we're dealing right now. I'm still on these committees with Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland, and the statistics clearly show that we have African American children at the age of 7 and 8 with the onset of adult diseases.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a bigger job here. There's so much we can do for the elderly because some folk have checked out. And there's so much talking and educating and showing and compassion that you can show.
Right.
So I think that we can continue to do that. But there has to be a shift in our consciousness about where we need to focus the attention. I'm looking at that generation of young adults in their 40s that are really taking a stronger stand, and they welcome this information. Right. And they're willing to do their own research.
So I think that for even those who are aging, whether healthy or not, to keep educating them, because what I tell people here in the community is that this information, even if you don't want to use it, maybe you can pass it on to your sons and daughters and children and grandchildren. Because as you said, they're the ones whose eyes are opening more and saying, wait a minute. I have people stop me all the time, or people that come and buy the hibiscus tea and saying, I want this because I don't want to drink those sodas anymore. And young kids telling me that they read labels and see all the stuff that's in there and knowing now because of the fact that everything's on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, you see all these videos about what's in our food.
Yeah, additives, preservatives, dyes that are creating havoc in the body.
Absolutely, and enough of the young generation is on those social media platforms that they read and they hear, and it comes through your feed, and you hear all the stuff that's going on and what's in your food, what it's doing to you, what's in the drinks. So they're becoming more conscious. And so I hear you, the education and compassion and offering assistance where possible for the aging population is still necessary, because there are a lot who don't want to change, but there are a lot who want to change. They just don't know how. Mm-hmm. But they recognize that this is not healthy aging.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, I share with my clients, when you're at a certain age, God willing, I'll be 80 next year. But when you're aging, all you have left is now.
Yes. Yes.
And you have a commitment and a responsibility for yourself to live whatever life that you have left to the fullest. Yeah. You deserve it. Mm-hmm. And that's one way that I can get across, because I also have some seniors who know this stuff, but they're not serving the best example for their grandchildren and the next generations, because they're still telling them one thing and doing something else. And, children pick up stuff fast, even the little ones now. They come in here very, very wise. Yeah. And when they see the contradictions, that's going to create a whole nother kind of dynamics between the relationship.
I've had a few people tell me that when the grandkids come, we can't eat this stuff because they'll tell us that's not healthy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if we give them something, say, no, I can't eat that, grandmommy, because that's not healthy.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good sign.
Yeah, it works both ways.
That's a good, a good sign. And again, because they have phones like, we it's new to us, but they were born with the phone, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of information that they get on their own.
Yeah.
I remember when I was trying to educate my daughter on the different drugs and what to do because there's because of the rampant substance abuse was going on in the
Mhm.
Montgomery County and Prince George's County area in Maryland. And when I was talking to her, she said, "Oh, I already know this stuff." And I'm like, "How do you know this stuff?" And she pulled a book up, and it had all kinds of pills in it. She said, "Well, we talked about it in class, and then my friend and I went and we started reading." And I'm like, "Whoa!" So I was impressed, and we
Yes.
still talked, but
Yeah.
she knew a lot of stuff. And so I think that and then my daughter's an amazing researcher, so I'm assuming there's a ton of kids. Got your phone.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh,
I
so
have
they
nine.
read, yeah.
Yeah. I have nine grandchildren, and my oldest granddaughter, Kinsey, she's getting ready to go to high school. And I said, Nana is going to be 80 by the time she get out of high school, I'll be 84, 85. By the time you go to college, I don't know if I'm going to make it. She said, "Oh, you're going to make it because I'm going to have a special concoction for you." She knows I'm into herbs and stuff.
Right, right. Well, and you already do that stuff, so you
Yeah.
have
So
known.
she knows, and I've had her engaged and she has her own recipe for fermenting. She likes
Awesome.
asparagus. So she does her own thing, and she had an eczema problem, and we talked about the sugar and all of that kind of stuff that was
Right,
included in her diet. So
right,
yeah, we can pass this on
right.
to the younger generation and do what we can to help those who are still making some attempt to make a change.
And
And whatever impact that we have, you just never know, so you just
right.
can't exclude doing the work,
Well,
regardless of
and I
whether
think
people get it or not. It's just something that we're committed to do.
absolutely. No, I love that, and I think that when we talk about healthy aging, I don't know how you feel about it, but when I hear people talk about aging, it's usually about, you know, I'm in my 50s now and now I'm aging. You start aging from the minute you are born. So when we're talking about healthy aging, technically speaking, healthy aging, the
Yes,
concept of healthy aging and looking at how should we age begins as soon as you leave the womb, right?
that's true.
So it's also good to start with shifting the mindset of needing to talk about things when you're halfway, when you're half a century old. You can start talking about healthy aging when you're in elementary school,
Well,
right?
women are talking about aging at 50 now and
Right.
45. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. They got a totally different concept
But it's
of
still,
age.
I think it's still too late
Yeah. Well,
because as you said, grown adult diseases begin now in elementary school. So we need to start talking then.
mhm.
And I think that if we do that, we need to start talking about how we feed ourselves and our children. Because the reason we have so much chronic disease in our children often is related to the diet as well.
Oh,
To their
absolutely.
lifestyle, to how they're being
Oh,
fed.
yeah.
You know,
The amount of sugar that our children, everything,
yeah.
they're living on sugar,
There's too
basically.
many children who don't like
Yeah.
vegetables, and the parents say, I can't let them eat broccoli because they won't.
Yeah.
So that starts. So healthy aging to me starts when we come out of the womb. Now, I think healthy aging is also something that we need to keep advocating at every step of the way. So not just when, in elementary school, but continue. It needs to be a continuum so that we constantly understand that not be, how do you say it? So fixated on it, but
Mhm.
understanding that everything
Yeah.
that happens later on is a result of what happened before.
Mhm.
My lifestyle, my lifestyle. So not what I did after 50, my whole lifestyle
Yeah. And what you do right
going to
now.
be what you exactly. And we are living in a time where our food is so processed. So we are not eating real food all the time. Our parents and grandparents still had the ability to taste something that was real. That also diminishes, and as it diminishes, we have to teach our children to read labels from the minute that they're able to read, because it's not just what we feed them at home, but what they eat outside.
It's a big challenge because we got the
Yeah. Oh
GMOs,
yes, the
we got the
bioengineered. Yeah.
plastic
Oh
situation, we
yeah.
got the containers and what you're
Yeah.
cooking in and
Yeah.
what you get from the carry out. There's so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
environmental factors that are affecting us, social, political, economic factors, the whole kit and caboodle. So we've got this tornado coming at us, but
Right.
you have to sort it out. You do the best you can. I hear people say, I can't afford the health food. I can't afford health food. I can't do the organic food. It's too expensive. And I should let people know, put it to test. Buy a tomato, a conventional tomato, buy a tomato, the organic that hasn't been sprayed, and see which one lasts the longest.
And you can get a bucket of 1 pound of baby spinach, baby kale, and baby chard for less than $5. That is an amazing amount of nutrition that you can eat.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we also see the most nutritious foods as side foods, and the least nutritious ones are taking up the main part of our plate. So if we're not balanced, right, that in itself causes inflammation, it causes other things, and it continues, and our bodies are resilient to a certain extent. And then after we retire, all of a sudden things start going wrong, and we're like, well, I didn't feel anything, I didn't have anything. And the other reason why I say healthy aging needs to start early, I did a research study 3 years ago with college students, and I did it during Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, because again, that's one of the diseases that was thought to be something that happens as we age. Well, it does happen as we age, but as we get older, I should say, but it's starting to it's happening younger. And it was right around the time after Chadwick Boseman had passed away. And so I asked 30 second and third year college students if they knew what colorectal cancer was, and they did not know. One student said, well, I think my grandma died of something like that. And another one said, yeah, isn't that what Chadwick Boseman died of? That was only 2, but none of the others. Nobody knew, nobody had heard of it. And ABC News had just done a little excerpt about the fact that by 2030, colorectal cancer would be one of the number one cancers for the ages 25 to 44.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the kicker is that you don't get screened until about 45.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that self-care, healthy aging, looking at our lifestyle has to start earlier, because again, if they're not going to screen you until you're 45 because of the standard of care here in America, then you need to start making sure that you are aware of what's really going on with your body before then. And to ensure that even if you can't take your own colonoscopy, you can start watching what you put in your mouth.
Well, I think what you're doing, Ludmilla, with your herbal teas and your detoxes and all of those things, if people aren't eating properly, those things can supplement their eating regime. But people have to realize that, the body is, if you're putting the toxins in and you're not doing anything to take them out, then something's going to manifest sooner or later.
Well, in our whole food nourishing program, we've seen that people who do a little bit of what we're suggesting, they still have amazing results, right? People who want to lose weight, people who want to get rid of inflammation. So in our program, that really works. There's a few people who are very intimidated because they're not understanding how you can possibly eat that many vegetables. But when we show them how to do it, then it becomes easier, right? And then when you tell them the power of flaxseed, right, and the power of cruciferous vegetables, they get it. But they'll tell you, I never knew this. They thought it by eating romaine lettuce.
Which has no nutritional.
They thought I'm eating a salad every day. I'm eating a salad with some salmon.
I meant to say iceberg lettuce.
Yes, but if you look at somebody who's healthy, generally healthy and has no real health concerns, yes, lettuce is okay. You want other things as well, but using different kinds of lettuce is okay. But for somebody who's chronically ill and you want to really rapidly reverse cellular damage, then you got to go to the most potent vegetables, and those are the cruciferous vegetables. And then in our program, we eat it raw, because the minute you start cooking broccoli, you kill the sulforaphane, and that's what's causing what's killing the free radicals, right? And research has shown that product definitely kills cancer cells.
Oh, yeah. A lot of research on that.
The minute you start heating your broccoli, it's done. So then your broccoli is still good for fiber and the other vitamins, that may be heat resistant, but you don't get the sulforaphane. So you don't get that effect. And so because we are so fixated on also cooking and processing and frying and baking and broiling things, that's then when you say you have to eat this raw, it's like,
that's a shift. That's a big shift.
well, but see, also in our program, the idea is not that you have to be raw all your life. The program is a rigorous part of your lifestyle from then on. So this rigorous portion is where you go and you do this stuff so that you can get the taste and the feel for what it's like. And when you start feeling better, you then make the decision, do I want to keep feeling this way, or do I want to go back to the other way? And so you can introduce some things that you ate before, but for the most part, what you start doing is you start eating differently.
Yes. And you feel the difference. They'll see the difference. Their body will start responding differently.
You might not eat as much of that meat that you ate before, if at all. You might not eat as much bacon, if at all. Because we know that the World Health Organization has said bacon and other processed meats are number one carcinogens. And people will tell you, I heard that, but it's good.
Yeah. There is one that I can't name it right now. One that I saw recently that they use for pork products. It's an additive, and it's banned in other countries, but they still use it here.
Oh, yes.
They still use it.
And the other thing that we find also that when you're dealing with the aging population, they may have skipped or skipped past the time when things became really obvious about the nutrition label, right? Because a lot of people don't follow the USDA guidelines, the FDA guidelines, or the CDC guidelines. They're not looking at all those things. So when they come out with the food pyramid, they're not paying attention. When they come out with the new standards for nutrition labels, they don't pay attention because, that's just, they're too busy doing life. So when you look at nutrition rules right now, there's some things that we don't even have to put on the label. Right? The idea that there's a certain level of pus in a cow's milk that is allowed, and that there's so many antibiotics that go into that cow, and then we make all kinds of dairy product out of that, and then give that to our public, and then wonder why we have so much antibody resistance.
Resistance, yes.
Right? And we just pile up the antibiotics and just keep piling it up, and people keep getting infection over and over again, and we just can't seem to get a handle of it. So we're not managing anything right now, and that's really, really sad. And it's not to rain on anybody's parade, but it's the truth. We're not managing anything. So if the system can't manage anything, then we have to take a step back and say, well, how can I do more for myself, right? Instead of continuously relying on the system that is not working for you. And then as you retire and you've worked so hard all your life, to then ensure that you have a quality of life and a more vibrant life, right? Our lifestyle, everybody deserves an amazing lifestyle after they've given all their life to work and raising a family. And even before that, for that matter, you deserve it all your life. But we always feel like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice that until I get older. And then when you get older, you want to be able to enjoy all of that. So it does come with a lot of changes in mindset, in how you eat, in how you treat your body, all of that stuff, and your social life as well. Because when you get sick, you can't socialize. That also is depressing. I see people here shut in from, chronic illness, and it impedes on their social life. And that makes them depressed as well.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back again to this deeper conversation of how we value ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is a process we call self-inquiry, to begin to gain inner understanding of, number one, why you do not value who you are. Why do you feel you need to sacrifice your health and well-being for others? What are you holding on emotionally and psychologically that is keeping you from loving and honoring the wonderful person that you are?
Yeah.
With those questions, those are very poignant questions that can stir up some understanding that will get people to think about changing to a healthier lifestyle. And in order to create to get rid of a bad habit is to create a new habit. So,
Yeah.
One step at a time, let's create a new habit over here.
Yes.
Instead of doing this, let's do that.
Right.
Drinkable water. I've had what people say, I hate water. How do you hate water?
Your body is water.
How do you hate water? I don't like water, Ayana. I hate water. Well, that's a problem. So let's take a look at why you hate water.
Yes.
And show you the dynamics of water.
Yeah.
And how your body's responding to water, and the new science on water in terms of Dr. Emoto showing how speaking into water, how it can change the molecular structure and things. So you have to take people on a journey.
Yes.
That's what I do. I try to just open them up to begin to look at another perspective. Because if you open up to another perspective, it may help you change your perspective.
Yes.
That you're so stuck on that you've been holding on. So again, I think it's all about raising the consciousness about people.
Yes.
Around health and well-being, and looking at more innovative and creative ways to bring it all together so that they can begin to take some responsibility for their overall health and well-being.
Well, I'm going to have to bring you here so we can have some talk with our.
I would love that.
Oh, I definitely think we need to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nothing like an in-person women's circle. And
I would love to do that. As a matter of fact, I owe some friends of mine a trip to Florida.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's plan it.
Yeah.
I love our conversation. And I think there's so much more to be said. And sometimes because there's so much going on as we age, and it's overwhelming because there's so much going on that's not so good, but there's also a lot going on that's good. And we are becoming more and more informed. And even if it's one person at a time, what I find in my community is I just keep educating. I just keep spreading the word. I just keep offering information and letting people know how much of this information is free. It's available to all of us. And, people start listening and then they spread the word. And then, we go on and on. And my dad used to say, well, Rome wasn't built in one day. And I didn't like that when he said it when I was younger, but girl, now I keep thinking about I keep hearing that voice. Rome wasn't built in one day. So one step at a time.
Yes.
And I do believe that although, there is so much, when you look at the statistics, it just seems like, oh my gosh, there's number one killer of this and, heart disease, number one killer among everyone. And also the fact that African-American women still have a higher rate of these chronic diseases than others, right? Even if they're not as prevalent, but when we do get them, they're more lethal.
Yeah, like breast cancer. When white women are diagnosed with breast cancer, we have the highest mortality rate. Yeah. So all these things matter. I think the deeper conversation is to remind people, and that's all Black women, Black men, that we matter.
We do, yes.
And that you're important.
Yes.
And that whatever quality of life that you have to live, you've deserved it. You've earned it, and you'll feel so much better when you embrace a new way of being, not just physically looking the part, but feeling the energy within you shifting, your mindset around who you are and how you're representing yourself for yourself. Because you got to do it for you first. You can't do it for anybody else.
Yeah.
You do it for you. So we just remind people, you matter, you're important, and how can I help? How can I serve?
Yes, yes.
And to listen more with what they think than what we think. And I think we'll get a better understanding and a more authentic connection with people. How do you feel about your health? Where are you with it? Begin to ask those kind of questions that will help them to go deeper in terms of their response. And it will also help us too, because we have to value the work that we do too. We're committed to this work, and it takes a lot of energy, a lot of research, a lot. Okay.
A whole lot, and some. Well, that's why the first week in our program is just about it's about getting to know each other. So we do that in a group, and then we have individual calls throughout the week, because I want to get to know who you are.
That's great.
Before I start telling you how to eat. for those 4 weeks. So, because that's how you find out where people's mind is actually, and what they say to you in the group is not the same thing they say to you individually.
Absolutely.
Right? And some people, I find it sounded good, but when they get there,
yes,
they have a mind.
Yeah, I call that the dynamics of human behavior. People, we all have many sides, many masks, many faces.
Oh yes, yes.
So.
And this is a particularly interesting population to deal with, the 55 plus community, if you will, because people are comfortable with where they are. At a younger age, people still want to try and be curious and do other
things. Exactly.
And a lot of people, in all age groups, I don't want to put everybody in a box, but a majority that I find are really hesitant because either it's fear or just having to get out of my comfort zone. But once they start feeling better, they get excited, because then it's like, oh, I'm still alive. I got all this life.
Yeah, they can measure results on their own.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why we do it practice-based. We're not looking at just things that have been done in a research paper, although those things, the evidence base is great to back up what we're doing. But the evidence, in person, to see somebody say to you, I want to dance again. Mm-hmm. Say, let's do this because you dance again, right? Or somebody saying, I couldn't get rid of this weight. I felt so horrible. And my menopause, and then seeing the person just being able to lose more than 40 pounds and just doing their thing and just loving life and feeling good about themselves, right? Feeling really good about themselves and getting their self-esteem back and dancing and enjoying life. That's what gives me the greatest satisfaction, is when I see people, even after so little as 2 weeks, sometimes we see some results that are amazing. Getting rid of inflammation, amazing. So I just thank God that we're able to be here, and I enjoy our conversation. I want to continue the conversation. So there's so much more to talk about, but I think right now we've done our 1 hour, so we're out of time. But I also want to bring you here. We're going to have to figure something out. So
I'm coming. We won't have to figure it out. It's going to work out. So we've already put it out in the universe.
Yes.
So it's already happening.
Absolutely. Let's keep this conversation going.
I would love to. And thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you for all the work that you do. You are the pioneer. So when I grow up, I want to be like you.
I appreciate you, darling,
definitely,
as well.
Yes.
All right.
And to the audience, I thank you so much for joining the Hibiscus Tea Cafe. Click on the link below and follow us and join us and comment and subscribe, because that really will help the algorithm. So we appreciate you being here. Let's keep creating a community to talk about health, wellness, and all things health and wellness. God bless.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us at the Hibiscus Tea Cafe. It is not too late to like and comment on our channel, and make sure you subscribe so that we can continue to bring you more valuable information. And until next time, take care of yourself. Health and wellness is yours.